It is the 9th of April 2014 and many thanks for joining us on Ebru African News this afternoon. I'm KAMENE GORO. Now let's jump straight into it. We start off our bulletin in West Africa, where the unprecedented Ebola outbreak is the most challenging for health workers since the deadly disease emerged elsewhere in Africa 4 decades ago, as the suspected death toll now tops 100. Now the World Health Organization is concerned about the spread of the virus from its epicenter in the forests of southern Guinea.
According to fresh World Health Organization figures released on Tuesday, there has been 157 suspected cases in Guinea, 101 of them fatal. Of those, 67 have been confirmed as Ebola victims by laboratory tests. 20 of the cases have been in the capital Conakry, a spiraling port city on Guinea's Atlantic coast and home to up to between 1.5 to 2 million people. The World Health Organization has not recommended any trade and travel restrictions to Guinea. But other countries across West Africa have been bracing against the epidemic, with Senegal closing its borders with Guinea.
This is one of the most challenging Ebola outbreaks that we have ever faced.
So far, there are 157 cases, including 101 deaths. Out of those cases, 67 were confirmed.
The most severe strain has had up to 90% fatality rate, and there is no vaccine, cure, or specific treatment. The outbreak has sparked fear in Guinea, where a mob in the south of the country last week attacked international aid workers, who they blame for bringing in the hemorrhagic fever. The disease is a particular concern for Senegal because it is the leading tourist destination in the region, with arrivals topping 1 million in 2011, according to the World Bank. In Liberia, there have been 21 cases, including 10 fatalities, of which 5 have been confirmed as Ebola. There have also been suspected cases in Sierra Leone affecting people believed to have been infected in South Guinea, but who died over the border. In Mali, there have been 9 suspected cases, with tests so far showing 2 of them did not have the virus. A suspected case in Ghana, meanwhile, turned out not to be Ebola.
The mortality rate is extremely important. As I was saying, 9 out of 10 patients will die. So if we look at that from the population's perspective, why would you go to a hospital if you have more or less zero chance to get out of it?
Ebola was first recorded in 1976, what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. The largest ever outbreak was in 2000 and 2001 in Uganda, with 425 cases, half of whom died, according to the World Health Organization data. Until the Guinea outbreak, the last recorded Ebola case had been in 2012 in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 29 people died.
The Pentagon announced on a Sunday that the Obama administration is sending about 150 special operations troops along with military aircraft to Uganda to help in the search for warlord Joseph Kony.
AFRICOM Commander General David Rodriguez highlighted the challenges of the operation to trace Joseph Kony at a Pentagon press briefing.
The biggest challenge that the African Union Regional Task Force is having is night mobility to get after Kony and his leaders. So we'll again support those efforts as required.
U.S. personnel were authorized to provide information, advice and assistance to an African Union force tracking Kony and his Lord's Resistance Army. A 5,000-strong AU regional task force supported by about 100 U.S. Special Forces has been hunting Kony and his fighters. Most of them are thought to be hiding in jungles straddling the borders of Central African Republic, South Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo.
As far as the Lord's Resistance Army itself, it's really been a good success story. The defections are way up and continue to go higher. There are less of his forces that are committing the humanitarian crises that is part of his modus operandi.
Although Coney remains a fugitive, General Rodriguez emphasized his army is in a weak state. LRA fighters who emerged in northern Uganda in the late 1980s are known for using extreme violence, including chopping off limbs as a form of punishment, as well as raping young girls and abducting them for use as sex slaves.
Talking legal matters, South African athlete Oscar Pistorius is back in court after the judge adjourned his murder trial when he broke down in tears during his testimony. Now, Pistorius sobbed on Tuesday as he recounted finding the body of his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp on the toilet floor of his home.
A day after apologizing to his girlfriend's family, South African track star Oscar Pistorius returns to the stand. In his second day of testimony, the defendant would go on to read aloud text messages with Riva Steenkamp.
It says, "You're making me so happy, and I know we argue from time to time, but I think we're actually so similar." Then there's a text from her to me saying, "Arguments with us are a struggle to find balance inside of new territory for us, and trying to do so with the similar language."
Pistorius is accused of deliberately killing Steenkamp last year by firing 4 shots through a locked door after an argument. The double amputee athlete has pleaded not guilty, saying he mistook her for an intruder.
The first thing that ran through my mind was that I needed to arm myself, that I needed to protect Riva and that I needed to get my gun.
As Steenkamp's family listened, Pistorius recalled the moment he saw her.
Whilst I leant over the partition to get in, I saw the key, so I took it and I unlocked the door and I flung the door open, I threw it open, and I sat over Riva and I cried. And I don't know how long I don't know how long I was there for. She wasn't breathing.
Pistorius faces life in prison if convicted.
British businessman Shrien Dewani, who is accused of arranging his wife's killing on their honeymoon, arrived in Cape Town after a 3-year legal battle to avoid extradition to South Africa.
Dewani has been treated for post-traumatic stress and depression since the killing of his Swedish wife, Annie. But Pretoria has not let up in its fight to bring him to trial, mindful of the damage to crime-ridden South Africa's reputation after its successful hosting of the 2010 Soccer World Cup. The 34-year-old arrived at Cape Town Airport from Britain early in the morning, but was whisked away from waiting reporters and taken to the Cape High Court.
I think many foreign criminals come to our country and take opportunities, and exploit our poor social backgrounds of our people, and also conditions that they stay in for their own benefit. And I think this is the time that the Justice Department must come and set example for other foreign criminals.
Top Cape Town Judge John Lobb postponed the case to May 12th and ruled that Dewani would remain in custody at state-run Valkenburg Psychiatric Hospital.
The next step from now, as I said, is that he's going to remain in custody. He will be receiving treatment in hospital, not mental observation, and it's important to make that a distinction. He is then going to, we obviously get a report on his health and his progress that he's going to be making whilst he's in the care of the doctors.
Dewani was supported by his family and appeared confused at times, struggling to hear the judge, who asked him twice if he understood the court's ruling.
Well, I think that justice must be served here. If he's killed her, he must face the penalties that come his way. Women have rights too.
Dewani faces 5 charges, including murder, kidnapping, robbery with aggravating circumstances, and obstructing the administration of justice. If found guilty, he faces up to 25 years in prison. Annie Dewani was shot dead in November 2010 in a taxi in the Khayelitsha township on the outskirts of Cape Town after being kidnapped in Gugulethu. Shrien Dewani denies any wrongdoing, but prosecutors have accused him of conspiring to kill his wife. Diwani says he and the driver Zola Tongo were forced out of the car unharmed before Annie was driven away and killed. She was found dead in the back of the abandoned vehicle with a bullet in the neck. However, Tongo turned state witness and in return for a reduced sentence, alleged Diwani had paid $1,500 for his wife to be killed. He was jailed for 18 years. Accomplices Mzua Madoda Wabe and Nzolile Mgeni were also found guilty of murder and were jailed for life.
Barakat, a protest group founded 2 months ago when ailing Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika controversially decided to seek a re-election, has livened up its anti-Bouteflika campaigns on the grounds of the incumbent's absenteeism from the entire campaign period. Now, the movement is now campaigning for a boycott of the April 17th elections.
Activists of the Barakat movement have made their mark by daring to argue publicly that the 77-year-old Bouteflika, who is too sick to take the campaign trail himself, is unfit to govern. Around 40 of them were briefly detained by the security forces when they did so at a rally in central Algiers. Co-founder Amina Bouraoui says the movement was born out of a desire to establish a genuine democracy in Algeria and frustration at an archaic system that has shown contempt for the people. The 38-year-old gynecologist argues that Bouteflika, who is running for a 4th term, is both mentally and physically unfit to govern the country. Barakat, which is made up mostly of activists in their 20s and 30s, has branches in 20 of Algeria's 48 provinces and has organized 8 demonstrations since March 1st. However, the movement has so far failed to draw large crowds to its rallies and is unlikely to prevent the expected re-election of the incumbent. The president's campaign team has described the movement as a tool of foreign powers.
Ukraine has approved a bill against separatism on a Tuesday in a bid to end violent pro-Russian rallies in the country's eastern regions. Now, according to the new law, those charged with a violation of Ukraine's territorial supremacy could face a jail term of up to 5 years for a single offense and up to 10 years for repeated offenses. Now, pro-Russian forces have been attacking government buildings in the cities of Donetsk, Lugansk and Kharkov.
It's become a familiar sight in front of Kharkiv's regional government headquarters. Lines of police supposed to keep rival groups apart and protect state property. But in recent days, running battles have broken out and the building overrun repeatedly. It's now in a state of almost permanent siege, the ultimate symbol for pro-Russian protesters of what they see as the illegitimate West-leaning government in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. The first attack came on Sunday night after a day of mass protests.
It was more or less spontaneous. In the evening, as usual, there had been a meeting against the authorities who have taken us over. And we came closer to the building and we had the support from what happened in Donetsk, and we took it over.
The takeover didn't last long as riot police soon cleared the building. In Donetsk to the southeast, similar attacks have seen administrative buildings completely overrun, with protesters declaring a so-called sovereign people's republic. Here the attacks have come in waves. An assault on Monday night with Molotov cocktails and sound grenades was repelled in the early hours of Tuesday by elite special forces. Attempts by protest leaders here to force the issue of a referendum on greater autonomy have so far fallen flat.
In the hallway, they made the decision to create a Kharkiv Republic, and deputies were elected, and there were about 500 of them. But do you think that these people can represent the interests of 3 million people in the Kharkiv region?
Clearing up after another night of unrest, Kharkiv's government building is already feeling the toll. And with the battle lines drawn once again, the fight for ultimate control looks far from over.
Afghan authorities have received more than 3,000 reports of violations from last weekend's presidential election, exceeding the tally following a 2009 vote that was marred by widespread fraud. Now, just half of the 3,103 complaints registered so far will be investigated, since arrests were reported by telephone and lacked the required supporting evidence.
As officials unload box after box of ballots in Afghanistan, reports of fraud have skyrocketed. At a news conference in Kabul, Afghanistan's Independent Election Complaints Commission broke the news.
In total, we have formally registered 3,103 complaints about the election with documents and by telephone. These complaints are registered in all our offices around the country.
The number of complaints from last weekend's presidential election exceeds the roughly 2,000 reports of violations from 2009. That year, more than 1 million votes were scrapped.
Based on these complaints, we cannot ignore the fact that during the elections there were instances of fraud and electoral violation. We promise to the people of Afghanistan that we will defend for you a clean and pure vote that you have cast, and we will safeguard it.
Midnight on Monday was the deadline for reporting fraud and any irregularities. But the final figure is expected to rise as complaints and ballot boxes arrive in Kabul from across the country.
We sum up our bulletin on a much lighter note. Now, Bolivia has inaugurated the world's highest urban cable car system, traversing high up in the Andes to connect to the mountain cities of La Paz and El Alto.
It's the world's highest urban cable car system. High up in Bolivia's Andean metropolis, the cable car network has begun carrying its first passengers at a dizzying height of more than 13,000 feet or 4,000 meters above sea level. Excitement is already in the air. Some passengers can't seem to get enough.
I already went for a ride. The cable car arrives at El Alto in less than 10 minutes. I'm very excited. Our city of La Paz looks beautiful. The mountain illuminates, the snow. I'm very excited.
The new cable cars aim to offer a faster service than more traditional modes of city transportation. A typical journey of an hour and a half to 2 hours will now take only 24 minutes. With a price tag of $250 million, the hope is money will save time.
That story wraps up our bulletin for you this afternoon. Join me at 9 p.m. for our primetime bulletin and a more comprehensive outlook on what's transpiring in our worlds today. Many thanks for staying tuned to Ebru Africa TV, and a special thank you to our new viewers in Nairobi and beyond. I'm KAMENE GORO, and until 9 p.m. do have yourself a lovely afternoon.
Newline Limited, your one-stop shop for elegant and comfortable office furniture. Newline responds to your expectations for office furniture in a modern language. We offer a 5-year warranty period, including unit transfers within Nairobi. For more information, visit our showroom at Chester House, Lotus Street, Nairobi. Newline Limited, your success partner.
Floma, professional makeup.
Does your exterior complement your interior? Everyone needs a home that is inspired by nature. At Yenbo Limited, we offer durable, energy-efficient and affordable UPVC windows in attractive colors. Visit us at Wall Street Business Park off Mombasa Road. Yenbo UPVC windows, your desire, our challenge.
Newline Limited, we offer current, stylish, state-of-the-art kitchen and wardrobe appliances tailored to suit your preference. We offer unit transfers within Nairobi. Let your kitchen stand out today by visiting us at Chester House, Lotus Street. Your comfort and satisfaction comes first.
Floma Professional Makeup.